As I'm sure most people are aware, it's been a hot minute since the last big Create Mod content update, and I decided I wanted to spice things up a bit, so I went searching for a cool Create Mod add-on to mess around with, and that's when I stumbled across Create Vintage Improvements. And I'll be honest, this add-on looks absolutely crazy. I mean, look at this, and this, and this. I don't even know what this thing is or what it does, but it looks awesome, so I really want to find out. Now, at a really high level, it seems like this add-on adds in 9 different machines, and then a whole bunch of components and materials that are used to either make or run those machines. And the machines range from simple stuff like a belt grinder, all the way up to a centrifuge, and then up to a laser. Oh man, I really hope the Create Mod goggles are properly rated for that laser. Oh, that may be the single worst joke I've ever made in a video. So arguably one of the best things about this mod seems to be that every single one of these machines has a ponder set up for it, but I'm not going to use that today because I think it's more fun to put them down, try to figure out how they work, what they do, all that good stuff, and then when I inevitably figure that out, well, then I'll watch the ponder. And this is just me, but I feel like it might be better to start with something like a belt grinder rather than just going head first and picking the laser. So let's see about this bad boy right here. So right out the gate, I'm extremely impressed with how this looks because it looks like it's from the base Create mod, which is awesome. And taking a look at the recipe, it's made using a grinder belt, which is one of those components that the mod adds in. And this comes from a whole bunch of sandpaper. So that probably means that this is used for automating the polishing process, which is great because that's a huge pain in the butt. So it seems like I should just need a creative motor to power this. And luckily, the Create mod is kind of idiot proof. It's usually very easy to tell where the rotational power is input into the machine. So if I just put this down here, it's running, and now I need something to polish on this. Is the only thing that you polish and create rose quartz? Okay, what happens if I just chuck this on here? Okay, it's going and it's polished into rose quartz. So this does in fact automate the sandpaper polishing process, which is one of the more annoying things in Create, if you ask me. I'm not really sure what that speed low thing is, but if I crank this up, does it still work? Okay, so it's speed medium now. Does it still work on this? Oh, it doesn't. It's going too fast. Okay, so it seems like certain items need to be processed at certain speed intervals. So now we know how this works, and that means it's time to set up a bit of an automated process for it to run it through a decent chunk of rose quartz. We'll just get some barrels and some andesite funnels. Okay, now it's time for the real test because we can't just assume that this is better than doing it by hand. We need to verify that as scientists. So, man versus machine, I am going to take 64 rose quartz and try and polish it, and I'm going to put 64 rose quartz into the setup behind me, and we're going to see who finishes first. Got to get myself amped up for this. Here we go. Go! Oh yeah, you're going down. You think that's fast, machine? Whew. Okay, we're halfway through. I'm calling it. Okay, it seems like it's roughly the same speed. This is super nice though, because it means you don't need to worry about getting a ton of sandpaper, so you invest 8 sandpaper into making this, and you never have to make sandpaper again. Definitely a nice quality of life improvement, although I do wish it could go faster. Now, the spring coiling machine. What could this possibly do? I wonder. The recipe doesn't really give a ton of hints at what it does, but I feel like the name kind of does, so if I just look up spring in here and then look at one of these recipes, it takes an andesite rod. Okay, so it turns rods into springs. Wait, and the springs have a stiffness measurement to them? Oh my gosh, these are all like different mod material springs too. Wow. Ladies must love the netherite spring. Stiffness 2560. Okay, and blowing right past that, can I just... Wait, something's happening. Okay, just feeding it in on a belt worked. Okay, now this one should be good for an automation test. As you guys can clearly tell, I've got a very big range when it comes to designs for automating these. So if I toss the netherite rods in there, you can kind of see an animation going, but it takes a little bit, but it actually has a really cool animation. Oh, and it just chucks it out the front. Is there a way to not have it just chuck it out? What if I put a belt here? Surely there has to be a way to catch this, right? There we go. Okay, but okay, so you can fully automate this, not bad. Now, surely because I've invested so so much time into automating this process, these netherite springs will be used to make another fancy machine, and it doesn't seem like they're used for anything. If you guys can't tell, I'm pressing the U button. I'm trying to see its uses. Please tell me one of these has to have a use for this. So let's just go through. Okay, there we go. So the iron spring actually has a use. And what the heck is vanadium? So it seems like the iron spring, though, is used to make almost every other machine that we haven't covered yet. So this is probably one of the first things you have to make. And then to make the rods, you need sheets. And then to make the sheets, you just need a regular mechanical press. Okay, not bad barrier to entry. I'll admit the compressor does sound a little bit more complicated than the other two. And I believe this did need one of those. Okay, it needed 2 iron springs to make. Very nice. So this surely has to do with fluids, but I'm not really. Oh, current operating mode, pressurizing and vacuuming. Very interesting. Okay, so it's got 2 different modes and it probably goes under something or over something. Okay, so for vacuuming, it actually goes over something too. It goes over a basin and it can turn a snow block into a powdered snow bucket. And then pressurizing, it can turn water and sulfur trioxide into sulfuric acid. Well, that's just what everybody needs. Just yesterday, I was playing Create with Shals and I was like, man, I really wish I had a bucket of sulfuric acid, you know, for things. Then it can turn copper, sulfuric acid, and water into copper sulfate, which can be used as bone meal. Interesting. And then there are byproducts that happen while you're doing these recipes that appear in the compressor. What is the output of this recipe though? We just have to do this and see what the output is because I feel like it's just pointing to air. So we need a blaze burner. Then we got to cook this thing up real nice with a basin and then a compressor. And then we should just be able to chuck the sulfur in there and get this some power right here. And I think it said it needs at least 30 RPM to work. So let's just give it 32. Okay, it's working. I don't know what it's doing, but it's working. Oh, that's so cool. It has an animation for pressurizing it. And I bet it's reverse for when it's vacuuming stuff. Okay, it has sulfur dioxide in there. So that's the byproduct. Is there no product? Is that what this means? Is there no product for this? See, now I'm gonna level with you guys for a second here. This looks and seems really cool, but there's one problem with it. It seems like the entire flow of this is you get sulfur dioxide, you then convert that to sulfur trioxide, and then you use that sulfur trioxide to make sulfuric acid, and then you use that to make copper sulfate. And unless I'm misunderstanding this, its use is just as bone meal. So I don't think there's anything else that I can see that's a use for this other than that. Okay, now this one's wild. The vibrating table has a minimum RPM requirement of 100. I mean, I gotta see what this does because I've never seen anything with an RPM requirement remotely that high. Okay, so we power it there and then we'll just give it 128 and it's not doing anything. I assume it needs something on it to vibrate. So it can vibrate leaves to get regular drops and they're the same as using a Fortune 3 hoe. Well, that's nice. And then, okay, so then it can just act as unpacking like a ton of other blocks can, and then it can convert snow into snowballs. Well, I'm curious to try the leaves here. Why is it not vibrating this? Does it need to be automatically input? Oh, there we go. That looks crazy. Is it going through them? Oh, it's going through them really fast. Where's the drops? Oh, they're sitting on there. Oh, you can just right click to take all the drops out. And all I got were 5 saplings and 4 sticks. What? There we go. Okay, it's running again. Guys, I'm so hungry. I just want 1 apple from this. That's all that I want. Please have an apple. Oh, it has 1 apple. It heard me. It heard me. It looks really cool. It definitely seems like a bit of a niche use case, but allowing you to get the drops from leaves is probably useful in some situations. Okay, I think it's finally time, guys. It's time to test out the centrifuge, which I believe, if I remember seeing it correctly, it requires basin to be on it. So it's almost a multi-block. So if I put this down, it says not enough basins for the centrifuge to work, add 4. Okay, this already out the gate looks extremely cool and is the first technically multi-block. It's not really a multi-block, but it kind of is. Before I even look at any of the recipes that this can do, my assumption is it separates things. I don't really know what it would be separating, if it's almost just like the unpacking that this already did, but that's what a centrifuge does in real life. So it needs 100 RPM again as a minimum, which makes sense because centrifuges work by spinning really, really, really fast to separate things. But looking at this, we got dyes, and then you can revert an Eye of Ender. You can revert mud to dirt and water. Interesting. I feel like this thing has to look awesome. I'm just curious how you load stuff up in here. Okay, very cool. The animation already is awesome. Oh yeah, that's so cool. How are you supposed to put stuff in this though while it's spinning? Do you have to have like a lever to turn it on and off? Okay, I'm installing a clutch with a lever, and then we're gonna put a creative motor down. There we go. Okay, so now I should be able to actually load this thing. Let's do some pink dye. Can I just chuck it in here? How do you put stuff in these then? What? Oh, you just throw it in this. Here we go. How fast will it separate these? And can you see it separating them? Oh, that's so cool. What if we crank it up? That's crazy. All of these are so crazy when they're running at max RPM. And you know, 512 stress units that this needs to run, that's not actually that much to run it at max. And then if we stop it, do you just right click and you pull everything out? Wow, that is wild. Okay, I feel like this is a little bit unfair. We're going from the centrifuge, which is this awesome thing that's basically a multi-block that looks really cool, to a curving press, which maybe I'll be surprised, but I don't think that this is gonna be as cool. It just looks like a regular press. Okay, so you use different heads on the press to do different recipes. Very interesting. Oh my god, you can use a nether star on the press to make a diamond into an emerald? How does that work? I'm really curious though, because I only saw recipes for one of these, but there's a whole bunch of different heads. I wonder if these are for different mods or what? What does this mean? Can be installed to curving press to produce R-like recipes? What is an R-like recipe? My assumption is right now they only have recipes for the convex curving head, but there are more, I guess, eventually that'll be added in with R and L-like recipes. Hey, if you've got a guess at what an R-like recipe is, hey, drop that in the comments, because I have no idea what that means. But so for this, we're gonna need a depot, then the curving press, then we should be able to slap that on. That's a satisfying sound. It's like closing a trap door. And then we power this and iron to make a bucket. Give me some buckets. Let's see this. Nice. I feel like there might be some use in this with automating the creation of bowls, not as much with buckets, but really what I need to see is I need to see how this nether star one works, because I just don't understand this. Now I just need to get some diamonds that I can convert into emeralds. Let's see this go. Okay, I thought it would have a cooler animation, like some crazy magical explosion, because this right here, this is some level of alchemy that's going on here, but this recipe genuinely could be useful. Hey, sometimes you just don't have emeralds and you need them, and diamonds, once you have your full set of diamond gear, it's not really that useful. Now, I'm just being honest, I think it's probably going to be pretty hard to top literal alchemy, but the Helve Hammer looks really cool, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. The Helve Hammer, I don't even know what that means, but this thing is relatively big, and it says place an anvil or a smithing table under the hammer. Oh, okay, so to craft this, you need to use the mechanical crafter, and I believe this is the first one that requires a set of mechanical crafters to make, probably because it's so big, which would make sense, but it looks awesome. Now, my immediate guess is because it needs an anvil or smithing table that it's going to be something that automates recipes using the anvil or smithing table, but I'm really curious how you would go about doing that. I don't really know why you'd want to automate any of this, because how often are you making netherite diving boots? Let's be honest here. Okay, so it can automate smithing, and it says it'll automate the whole process. Okay, so this is exactly what we thought. You can automate the process of smithing, and it just hammers on the table. That's interesting, but hammering, it seems like it makes netherite sheets, and this is the only recipe for making netherite sheets. So let's just ignore the fact that I don't actually think there are any uses for the netherite sheets right now, and we're gonna try it out on this. I think the real question is, does it damage the anvil as it does the recipe? I just want to place this down over here. No, stop fighting me. Okay, I got to do it like this then. There we go. It is currently operating in hammering mode, and then just give it some rotational power. Can you toss them on this? Okay, so you can toss them on this and it holds them there. That is so cool, but that's awesome that it actually holds that on there. Now the real question is going to be if you are able to make a belt system, putting it on here and automatically taking it off. I feel like that's probably a stretch. First, just see about putting it on there. Okay, it works to put it on there. from a belt. There's no way it'll let us take it off automatically though, right? No, it doesn't. Okay, so we probably need to use some kind of brass funnel with a filter up here. Will this drop it? Oh my gosh. So it drops it from up there because it treats it's like an inventory at the head of where this is operating. That's so weird looking. Now, I'm not going to say I'm intimidated by the next thing because we're nearing the end here. These are getting relatively complex. The lathe is obviously a thing in real life, but it's got a machine RPM requirement of 100, but then another part has a different RPM requirement of 30, and then it's got different stress impacts. So this has got to be crazy. So it looks like a regular lathe in real life, which to me means that you're going to have to input the thing that actually spins the part that does the cutting, and then the part that has the thing on it that's getting cut into. Okay, so you use it to make the curving heads, which are used for the setup over there. So you need a block of iron for this though. This has to look cool. Can we manually insert it? We can. So you right click on this and you can actually just pick what recipe you want. Well, obviously I want the useless one of the concave head. Wait, that actually is a wild looking. So it actually tries to look like a legitimate real life lathe, and then we can just take it off. That's wild. If someone walks into your base and you have this thing there, you know, you're standing there and you're like, pardon me, I was just lathing stuff, right? You're going to impress them. It's time for the laser, which I don't even know how this works because we don't have power in this mod. We have rotational power, but no energy. And I feel like a laser probably needs energy. That is presumably the laser head right there. If I power this, is it just gonna start like lasing, and it has an energy cost? Okay, well, we don't have energy, so that'll be interesting to see if we can get this to work. Okay, so it just cuts glass, but it looks cool while doing it. Does it need to be on something, or if I just chuck this under here, is it gonna start? Oh my god, it's like tweaking out. What is it supposed to look like that? Oh, it looks better from this side. Okay. Oh, that looks so cool. Well, I've had a chance to mess around with all the different machines now and at least get a general idea of how they work, so I'm gonna give myself a bit of a fun challenge to pick at least one of these machines that I messed around with and use it to make a practical and useful build that I would legitimately make in my survival world. I wonder which one I'm gonna pick. I can't imagine it was really that difficult to figure out which one of the 9 machines that I would legitimately want to make use of, especially because the belt grinder legitimately solves a problem that I have with base create, which is the constant need to make polished rose quartz using sandpaper and do it manually instead of automating it like this beauty right here. But this isn't enough for me. I actually want to take it one step further and make use of the polished rose quartz at the end of this with a further automated setup. I would already put this in my survival world, and I'm tempted right now to go add this mod to the pack just for this. But there it is. I have a belt grinder automated factory for making brass funnels. I would absolutely put this in my survival world. I don't know if I'd make use of any of those other machines yet, but hopefully they will have more recipes to come. So definitely give this add-on a look, guys. I think I'm gonna be sick.